Well, you know what I mean, lad. I'm gonna bounce his fucking head off the canvas, lad. You know what I mean, lad. Ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? How's your mom? How's your family? You read the title. You know exactly how I feel. And this is a very interesting fight. My predictions for the full card are gonna drop tomorrow. My casual parlay for this card dropped yesterday. Go check that out all in the UFC 314 Volk versus Lopez playlist. But listen, I want to talk about this. I'm not going to reveal my pick in this fight, but you saw the title. That doesn't mean I'm picking Michael Chandler because I think Paddy the Baddy should win this fight. I think he should win this fight. I stumbled upon this guy by the name of Victor. I don't know how to say your last name, so I'm not going to slander it. But the title caught my eye. Why Michael Chandler versus Paddy Pimblett won't be close. Now, I watched the first 10 to 15 seconds just to see where he's siding with on this fight. He's siding with Michael Chandler. And I want to talk, before I react to this video, I want to talk about my title and why I'm concerned about this. Because Paddy the Baddy, I don't think he's that good. I think, and I'm going to try to be as objective as possible. I just said he's not good, so that's not objective. So I'm going to try to be objective as possible to explain why I think that way. I think Paddy the Baddy has amazing jiu-jitsu. I think he has great control, great submission game. I do, off his back and on top. And in scrambles, I think he's a great scrambler as well. Wrestling, I think he's bad. His takedowns are non-existent. He doesn't shoot them well. Doesn't shoot them often. His takedown defense, I really don't know. Because he kind of will give up a takedown to try to play that jiu-jitsu game. So I don't really know how good his takedown defense is. Not like Michael Chandler's going to shoot anyways. Because on the feet, Paddy the Baddy is great and horrible. He's a weird fighter. For instance, at range, he's really good with his kicks. Very fast, not very telegraphed, even though he leads with them. And you kind of know they're coming because he can't really box. But they're still hard to defend. Quick, fast to the body. He can't throw them high, but he likes to throw them low a lot. His game is to leg kick at range, but his boxing is horrible. Yeah, he's winging punches. He's throwing hooks that are pretty slow and with not a lot of power behind them, with his chin in the air. And he's leading with the power shots. And he'll throw them in combinations, true. Not very straight. And it's just, he's open. Defensively, he's just bad. So he wants to stay at range, right? Throw leg kicks. And he relies on his opponents to make mistakes. That's what I noticed. He relies on his opponents to make a mistake. Bobby Green, uh-oh, you made a mistake. Now let's end this fight. Jordan Levitt, uh-oh, you made a mistake. Now let me choke you out. And don't get me wrong, Michael Chandler's a guy who makes a lot of mistakes in there, which is why it's like, he should probably win this fight. I think we can clearly say, without any bias, I think we can say, while Paddy the Baddy is very talented, I think we say Paddy the Baddy has the higher IQ in decision-making and position in this fight, but Michael Chandler's probably the better athlete. Probably the more dangerous fighter. Is that crazy to say? Obviously, Michael Chandler's not going to choke you out, but on the feet, I mean, Paddy has nothing to offer. And I do mean nothing to offer while being able to be tagged and lit up easily. And I do mean easily. And it's hard for me to see Paddy the Baddy low kicking at range with his chin in the air and using that just to beat Michael Chandler. Because I don't think Paddy's going to shoot on Michael Chandler. He doesn't shoot. He doesn't shoot takedowns. A lot of people are saying if Charles Oliveira is able to do that, Paddy could do it too. I think Paddy could control Michael Chandler if it does hit the mat or somehow create a scramble and he gets positioned to control Michael Chandler. I don't think he's going to shoot singles and doubles, run Michael Chandler to the fence and control him that way. I just don't think that's going to happen. If you listen to Paddy the Baddy talk about this fight, he said, we're going to be in for a scrap on the feet, lad. I don't think he's going to shoot takedowns on me, lad. He knows he's going to be in the world of trouble on the ground, lad. So I think we're going to have a nice scrap on the feet, lad. And I think I'm going to knock him out. I think I'm going to hurt him, lad. I think I'm going to get him out of there in 2. You know what I mean? It sounds good. And yeah, Michael Chandler's the perfect guy to come in there, sip on a banana peel, like, but not to steal from Bobby Green's lingo, but he's the perfect guy to come in there, overextend, blow his load, pause, and then get in a tricky situation and get choked out. But he's also the type of guy who can go in there and make Paddy pay for putting his chin on a silver platter. And maybe Michael Chandler's not the guy that's going to make him pay for it. But eventually at this highest level, somebody's going to make him pay for it. You cannot be at the highest level in a division like this with this kind of holes in your defense. With zero head movement. Scousers don't get knocked out, lad. You know, his defense is his chin. That's his defense. Michael Chandler fucking cracks, dude. Michael Chandler cracks. So, it's very, very interesting when I look at this fight. Very, very interesting when I look at this fight. Michael Chandler is much more explosive, much more faster. I want to say he's better on the feet, and it's just predominantly striking. He does have very, very hard low kicks, but he doesn't throw them later on. He might throw them early, but doesn't throw them later on in fights. He's bombing away. He's trying to make something happen. I don't know, bro. I think this is a coin flip fight. The odds are actually getting closer. I don't think you're crazy for picking Chandler. I don't think you're crazy for picking Paddy. As of right now, though, I am leaning Chandler because, like I said, Paddy is not a great wrestler. Once it hits the mat, jiu-jitsu, amazing. He's not a great wrestler, and he relies on his opponents to make a mistake. Now, on the feet, I don't think there's a mistake that Chandler can make that's going to really, really be detrimental. Unless he overextends so bad to where Paddy changes levels. But Paddy doesn't really shoot takedowns that often. So, I'm thinking the way this hits the mat is if Paddy's waiting on Chandler to shoot. You know, and people say, Paddy I was striking Bobby so bad to where he had to shoot. Actually, Bobby did slip. Not excuse, you still got choked out. But he actually did slip. But I don't think Paddy just systematically outstruck Bobby. He was winning the round. He was low kicking that range, doing his thing, but I don't think it was just, oh my gosh, he turned Bobby Green into a panic rush. I think that's a really, really bad take and a very lazy narrative. I don't know. I think Paddy is very, very tough, so I don't know if he just gets straight up knocked out, but I think he's going to lit up in this fight a lot to where he's going to have to start wrestling. And then we're going to see. We're going to see. Can Paddy's wrestling be good enough? Is Michael Chandler really that overrated in his takedown defense? We're going to see. I'm going to let Victor take it away, and I'm going to react like only I can do.
Michael Chandler versus Paddy Pimblett is just a couple of weeks away, and I think that there's a big difference in levels between both of these guys, and I think this...
Also, I want to pause. Is Paddy... We're seeing progression in each one of Paddy's fight. We have to be real. Like, Paddy is not the same guy who, while getting his hand raised, lost to Jared Gordon. I don't think he's the same guy who fought Tony Ferguson, who had a very competitive fight with Tony Ferguson. So did Michael Chandler, or earlier Tony Ferguson, but still the same level of Tony Ferguson, I'm willing to admit. Tony hurt Michael Chandler in that fight. Tony had a success against Paddy. I think what we saw was Paddy's cardio is not that great, and he fights a very low-volume style. You know? Not a lot of energy being exerted. But as we saw him get late in these rounds against Jared Gordon and Tony Ferguson, he kind of starts to fade a bit, which is weird. We know Michael Chandler fades, but he's fighting these high-paced fights. So if Michael Chandler pushes that high pace on Paddy and there's two tired fighters in there, then Michael Chandler has shown he's going to throw down, you know. No matter what minute it is, tired or not, he's going to throw down. And I don't think Paddy has what it takes to hurt Michael Chandler like Poirier and Gaethje and all these other fighters. I don't think Paddy can hurt Michael Chandler because he doesn't crack. You know, unless it's a kick, fair enough. But he just doesn't crack. So it's going to be very interesting on Michael Chandler who's not going to strike, who's not going to respect anything. Because Michael Chandler goes in there and doesn't give you any respect. He didn't respect Gaethje in there, and he actually took that first round off Gaethje. He didn't respect Dustin Poirier. He actually beat up Dustin Poirier real bad that fight. He didn't respect Charles Oliveira. Paddy Pimblett is none of those guys on the feet. So it's going to be very interesting when Michael Chandler does that same thing. I don't respect you. Show me something. It's going to be very, very interesting. Now I'm going to let you take it away, Victor.
fight is really not going to be that close. I looked at the odds today, and Michael Chandler is an underdog against Paddy Pimblett, and I find that crazy. And I want to break this fight down because I don't think that at all. I don't think Michael Chandler should be the underdog at all. And I think there's a big skill difference. So first, let's just start off with the tail of the tape. Let's break these guys' stats down. Paddy Pimblett is 5'10". He's got a 73-inch reach. He's 30 years old, and he's primarily a grappler. On the other hand, you have Michael Chandler, who's 5'8", a 71-inch reach. He's 38 years old, and he's mostly a striker, but he does have a background in wrestling. So if
which was kind of exposed by Charles Oliveira, which leaves more question marks in my head. But
Paddy Pimblett being 8 years,
I do think he's a better wrestler than Paddy Pimblett. I don't think that's crazy to say.
Younger, having the reach and height over Chandler, he definitely has the advantage physically, but what really separates these two fighters is the actual skill level. So let's address the elephant in the room, which is that
it's not me that's lagging, by the way, it's him.
Throughout Paddy Pimblett's career, especially as of late, he's been given tailor-made matchups, easy matchups, to shoot him up the ladder of lightweight. Because we all know Paddy Pimblett's a big star, and it's in the UFC's best interest to give him the easiest fights to build up his name value and to try to turn him into an even bigger star. Like Pimblett's last two fights were Bobby Green and Tony Ferguson. Before Bobby Green's fight with Paddy Pimblett, he basically lost to every single ranked lightweight in his way, with exception of like Grant Dawson. Not to mention Bobby Green's biggest weakness is the grappling. He's struggled with the high-level grapplers, and that feeds into Pimblett's biggest strength, which is his grappling. And then we have Tony Ferguson, who was on a 6-fight losing streak at the time of their fight. But on the other hand, you have Michael Chandler, who's been fighting the top lightweights in the world since he's been in the UFC, right? He's fought Justin Gaethje, he's fought Dustin Poirier, he's fought Charles Oliveira. And I know what you might be thinking. He's lost to every single one of those guys. But it's not as simple as that. He wasn't getting completely outclassed. If you guys remember, to each one of those fights, the Justin Gaethje fight, Michael Chandler had Justin Gaethje almost out on his feet. The Dustin Poirier fight, he had Dustin Poirier up against the fence, tagging him with massive shots. The Charles Oliveira fight, the first one, he rocked Charles Oliveira and almost had him finished. You know, you can go back to his most recent fight with Charles Oliveira. That fight was not as competitive, but still, Michael Chandler tagged Charles Oliveira in that fight, right? He is giving trouble to the biggest and highest level lightweights in the division, so he's not levels below these top guys. Whereas Paddy Pimblett's never faced an actual high level lightweight ever. And I think that's where there's a real difference, not only the experience that Michael Chandler has, but I think Michael Chandler is actually more skilled than Paddy Pimblett, especially in the striking, right? I know what you guys might...
Definitely in the striking, but not on the mat. That's what makes it interesting. See, I don't know if he is more skilled. A lot of people... his decision-making isn't as good, and it makes it look bad. But on the feet, Michael Chandler, I think, is really better than Paddy Pimblett. Yeah, I do. But on the mat, Paddy got that. So it makes you think. How does this... and if you're a Paddy guy and you think Paddy's going to win this fight, I don't think you think Paddy's going to outstrike Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler's going to out-volume Paddy. He's going to put the pressure on Paddy. He's going to outbox Paddy. So you probably think Paddy's going to find a submission or get this fight to the mat. How confident are you in Paddy Pimblett shooting a takedown and getting Michael Chandler to the mat? Because you keep saying Charles Oliveira did it so Paddy Pimblett can do it, but who has Paddy Pimblett done it to in the UFC? Who has he done it to? To the level of what Charles did? No one. So... I'm just not understanding that 1 + 1 = 2. I'm not understanding that part of the MMA math. I'm not. I'm really not. I'm struggling to understand that one. But on the mat, yeah, Paddy's always live for a sub. We know what his jiu-jitsu was looking like, but I don't think Chandler shoots. Paddy doesn't like to shoot. And if he does end up shooting after Michael Chandler's like beating him up, it's probably not good shots. It is probably not a good sign. That's all I'm saying.
Might be thinking, oh, Chandler's just a dumb brawler. But you can't just look at the way he fights with the pressure and the wildness of his fighting style. You can't look past the actual skill he has, because he is landing on the best of the best guys, and he's almost finishing some of the best guys. He might not have the best striking defense, but I think Paddy Pimblett's striking is much worse, where I think his defense is not that great, and I think his offense is not that great on the feet. I think the only thing about Michael...
boxing. It's his boxing. His kicks are great. It's his boxing, dude. It's fucking terrible.
Chandler, that you can really count against him is his age. And you can question, well, maybe Michael Chandler is just at that age. He's 38 years old, about to turn 39. And Paddy Pimblett's this young 30-year-old guy in his prime. He might just be the nail in the coffin for Michael Chandler. But I just think that the skill difference between Michael Chandler and Paddy Pimblett is enough to where if Michael Chandler is getting old and he's getting slower and worse, I still think the skill discrepancy and the experience of Michael Chandler is going to be enough to win.
He's not really going in depth in the skills like I did. Like, he's just saying skill level, skill level, skill level. And he's basing that off of strength of competition, which is important. Very, very important to base these things off of strength of competition. But you can't just say skill level, skill. Like, what skills are we talking about?
Right, but let's break down how this fight's actually going to go.
Let's do it.
These guys are kind of opposites in the way they fight, right? Michael Chandler's the brawler, the striker. Paddy Pimblett likes to take it to the ground. So when this fight starts, I think Paddy Pimblett, by the way, this is a 5-rounder. Paddy Pimblett's going to go for the takedown. He's eventually going to...
But he doesn't shoot good shots. He does not shoot that well. And he doesn't really shoot that often. Give me a second, man. Paddy Pimblett takedown attempts per round. Let's go look at some good old UFC stats. Yeah, this is very telling. In the UFC, Paddy Pimblett has scored 3 takedowns in 6 fights. Is that not very, very telling? 3 takedowns in 6 fights. There hasn't been a fight in the UFC where he secured more than 1 takedown. Now, these stats, obviously, their rules of a takedown are a bit different. It doesn't include reversals. It doesn't include trips and things of that nature, but still pretty telling on the volume of his takedown attempts. It's a lot of, I don't know what I just clicked on. The Monkey King. Jordan Levy be tripping. But it gives you a sense of, man, he's really relying on his opponent to make a mistake in the grappling, as in take me down or initiate the grappling. I don't think Michael Chandler does that. And Paddy doesn't really do it. So
I'm going to try to shoot for a takedown. And I think that background of Michael Chandler with the wrestling is going to be a tough go for Paddy Pimblett. I don't think he's going to have much success taking Michael Chandler down. I really don't. We've seen Michael Chandler go against some high-level wrestlers and some high-level grapplers. We've seen Michael Chandler against Charles Oliveira. You know, Charles Oliveira did have success taking Chandler down, but I think Charles Oliveira and Paddy Pimblett are 2 way different grapplers. I think we can all agree on that. Charles Oliveira is one of the best grapplers in the division. I don't think I can say the same about Pimblett. So I think for the most part, this fight's going to be on the feet, right? And I think Michael Chandler is so dangerous, especially with the striking defense of Pimblett. I think Chandler is going to be able to land on Pimblett. And if Michael Chandler lands on you, good luck. We've never really seen, you know, Pimblett really he's got rocked before, but he's never been hit by a guy like Michael Chandler. And I think...
Now, dude, Jared Gordon was lighting Paddy up, man.
I think the key for Paddy Pimblett to win this fight is to survive the storm of Chandler, because we know how Chandler fights. He's kind of a marauder, right? You know, we saw the Charles Oliveira fight. He was a lot more patient, but that clearly didn't work out. And also, I think he was doing that specifically because he knew he was fighting Charles Oliveira, right? When he knows there's a skill difference between Charles Oliveira and Paddy Pimblett. And I don't think he's going to respect Pimblett's skill as much as he did Oliveira. And I think he's going to go in there and try to get an early knockout. And I think the best thing for Pimblett to do is try to weather the storm, because we know Chandler does not have the greatest cardio. And if Pimblett plays the...
Paddy doesn't have great cardio either. And all the fights that we've seen go along, he hasn't had great cardio either. But Paddy Pimblett's game plan should be to keep range, low kick, keep range, body kick, keep range, keep range, keep range, keep range, keep range. I wouldn't box at all. Not early.
The long game, and he tries to draw Chandler out, maybe lose the first 2 rounds, and try to grapple with Chandler later in the fight, in the 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round. I think he could potentially tire out Chandler to the point where he can have success in the grappling. I just don't see that happening, though. I think Chandler's going to be able to stuff the takedowns. I think it's going to be on the feet, and who knows, maybe Pimblett does try to strike with Chandler.
It's a bad
which is a
idea.
horrible idea because I think Chandler, and this is my final prediction for this fight, I think Chandler's going to put Pimblett out cold. I really do. And I think this is going to be a good win for Chandler. I just think the striking discrepancy, the skill difference between these two guys and the experience is what really is going to put Chandler ahead. Because I don't see this fight going to the ground. I really don't. I don't think Pimblett has the skill to hold Chandler down or even maybe take him down. I might be really wrong on this one, but based off of what I've seen from both of these guys, I have a hard time picking Pimblett. I just don't think he's at that level, especially when his last fight was Bobby Green. And he looked great against Bobby Green. He finished him very quickly. He got to the ground, but that was an instance
He didn't
where
get to the
there's
ground.
a
Like,
big
you know what I mean? Like,
hole in a guy's game, and it fed right into Pimblett's style. Michael Chandler is a hard matchup for Pimblett. This isn't, you know,
and like if Michael Chandler does take Paddy down, Paddy does have great jiu-jitsu, but when Michael Chandler's on top of you, he is fucking brutal. And I do mean brutal. In the first fight with Michael Chandler and Charles Oliveira, Michael Chandler ended up on top of Charles Oliveira and hovered maxed him to death. His top pressure was insane, and he was beating up in Charles Oliveira's guard, beating him up. You know, good wrestling on top with top pressure negates jiu-jitsu a lot of the times. So Paddy's on his back and Michael Chandler's in his guard. Paddy does have great hips. He's good at throwing up triangles. He's good at all that. I'm not gonna say that, but it's kind of ridiculous to just assume, oh my gosh, if it's just the ground, Chandler's getting subbed. If Chandler's on top, which is very important, if Chandler's on top in Paddy's guard, Chandler can have success there, just being heavy on top, because he did it to Charles Oliveira.
Glaring weakness that Pimblett can use his strength against. It's the complete opposite. And I think he's going to be stuck on the feet, and I think he's going to have big problems. So if Paddy Pimblett can't weather the storm against Michael Chandler, I think he's going to be in for a tough night. But let me know what you guys think about this fight. Who do you guys think is going to win?
Who do you guys think is going to win? Shout out to Victor. Cool video. Quick and to the point, 6 minutes. Easy video to react to. Like, comment, subscribe, share this to somebody I know they enjoy just like you did. Let me know who y'all got in this fight and how. Very important. I want to know the how. You ain't got to go home. You got to get up out of here, man. Yeet.